Well, I think I was in New York, and I think it was a combination of different situation going on. I think the economy wasn't all that great, and it was very difficult to live in New York. And also I think you know kind of old habits from being, cultural habit, like being a Thai person. I think we've always lived very communally. So I would like cook a pot of curry, and all the friends would come over and eat every Sunday, you know. And it wasn't so much that I was thinking I was making work. It was just difficult to eat curry by yourself. So I'd make a pot, and everyone would show up, and then people would just automatically come around. And I think that certainly fed into the thought behind some works that became more communal based. I would say that when I started working, I didn't really think about that aspect of the work. I was more interested in anthropology. When I would go to big museums like the Metropolitan or the Art Institute of Chicago, I was looking at, Oriental objects, and more particularly, Thai artifacts. And I realized that, in the Art Institute of Chicago, the objects were collected as a kind of art object. They were object of, cultural, but more focus on crafts and beauty, and not so much on the function. And I felt that, for a Buddha to be relevant, you have to have that in a place of use, in a way. Even though a Buddha is, in the Western eye, is a sculpture, it's actually a used object. It's an object of usage. And or even old potteries from a certain period of time. And you see that all aspects of things, and how the focus of that was. And of course, as an artist, I was thinking, but you're missing out the real important part of it, which is like all the life around the object. And so I was really more focused on addressing the fact that there was something missing. And so I started to cook, because I felt that in order to bring life to the object, you have to use it, reuse it. And I realized something else, which actually was more important than the object itself, became visible. And so I started to then focus more on the activity itself. I think there are different aspects of activity, or certain frames. I would call them frames or platforms now, and that just would bring people together. So the more cultural aspect of it shifted towards more communal aspect of the idea. I use a lot of architecture because it is a frame for things to happen in. And then within that relationship, I find information that's relevant, at least to the process that I'm involved with, or the context that the work is addressing. So, to use a specific structure, or to use a specific color, has relevance, but it's a layer. It's a layer which is in the work, which I've always felt that, if people were to spend a bit more time looking and reading and thinking, these layers would, kind of reveal its relevance. There's a kind of, there's a Wittgenstein quote which says it's like, don't ask for the meaning, ask for the use. And really the idea is that through usage you find the meaning. And I think that's the kind of what I'm interested in terms of the layer of how the tool is there for you to, use. I mean, for me, I think it's always about, has become a lot about like how one finds oneself in an experience or a learning structure, So it's not that everything is completely played out and written up and explained, but that through your own process of going through the work or spending time with it, or in period of time, that you slowly find some meaning through that process. Well, what I find, I think, is that artists are understanding more that they can be the center of what they're interested in. They don't have to go to the places that are the center. They don't have to, they can make their own terms now, because I think in the end, people will, I mean, the information or the ideas or the discussion will reach out, So I think that's something that I think changed in a way. The idea of time, I think, is quite important in that shift, in terms of like, when I first made the kind of early curry cooking, I thought, well, it's a particular kind of curry, it's happening in a particular kind of space, and the people coming to it is, it has a relationship to that context, and it would be difficult to move it. But then moving it, one realized that other things come up, other experiences and other relationship comes up. So moving it becomes quite interesting as well, So I think those are things that, well, at least I hope I'm constantly kind of finding out in the work itself, so that I'm not finished yet. Yeah.